Well, good morning. My name is Willie Lawson. It's the Morning Report. Today, we're taking a much needed swing at a cultural trend that is absurd and it's arrogant. It's the growing obsession with judging people from hundreds of years ago by the standards of today. It's not just unhelpful, folks, it's dangerous. We are going to talk about history, the real kind, the messy kind, and yes, the kind that doesn't come with a trigger warning. So grab your coffee, silence your inner activists, and let's get to work. First thing we need to talk about is the arrogance of modern morality. There's a growing habit, particularly in academia and on social media, to look back at historical figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, or even religious leaders and say, how dare they not think like me? Well, I have news for you. They weren't you. They didn't have Twitter. X, sorry. They didn't attend gender studies seminars. And they didn't grow up in a culture where every microaggression came with an HR policy and a hashtag. So when you judge people who lived 3, 4, 500 years ago by today's moral standards, you're not being righteous. You're being historically ignorant and you're being dumb. It's moral time travel. It's a luxury only people who have never known real hardship can afford. Folks, context, of course, always matters. Let's take George Washington. Yes, he owned slaves. That's a fact. But it's also a fact that he led a revolution and set a foundation for a free nation and voluntarily stepped away from power. Voluntarily said, I'm done. Thanks so much. Something unheard of at the time. The man lived in a time when slavery was tragically normal. That doesn't excuse it, of course, but it explains it. And if you can't distinguish between understanding context and endorsing injustice, you've disqualified yourself from serious historical discussion. Judging the past or judging past figures without understanding their time is like grading a caveman on his Wi-Fi password strength. Okay, now we've seen cancel culture's war on history. This obsession has turned into a full-on culture war. Statues torn down, paintings removed, entire school curricula rewritten. History isn't being taught, it's being edited. We're seeing a purge, a sanitation of the past. The goal? To make it align with the current political ideologies, often rooted in grievance, not growth. And here's the crazy part. Most of the people doing the canceling haven't read a history book since 10th grade. But they're armed with Twitter and a moral superiority complex and a love of performative justice. They're not seeking understanding. They're demanding apologies from people who are dead. So, who gets to judge? Here's a question for all the keyboard historians. If someone 500 years from now judged you by their standards, would you pass the test? Think about it. What if meat eating is considered barbaric in 2500? Or flying in airplanes, or using fossil fuels? Will your name be scrubbed from history for sins that you didn't even know existed? See, this cuts both ways. Once you make perfection a requirement for honor, nobody gets a statue, not even your favorite activist. So, and why does this matter now? This isn't just about statues and textbooks. It's about truth. Also about a national identity. When you teach kids that the founders were evil, that America was built on nothing But oppression and that history is just a string of sins. What you don't get is reform. You get resentment. You raise a generation that hates their country, distrusts their traditions, and sees moral clarity as something invented last Thursday. We must be able to look at our past honestly, for sure, both the flaws and the greatness, or we will lose the ability to learn from it. And when you lose your past, you will have no future. And this is probably a better way forward. Here's the alternative. Teach history as it was. Teach that George Washington was a great man with flaws. That Thomas Jefferson wrote liberty into law, but struggled to live it. That our heroes were human. I just broke my mouse. Context doesn't excuse, it explains. Don't rewrite the past. Don't burn it down. Instead, hold it up. Examine it. Wrestle with it. And then move forward. All the wiser. Not bitter. And stop letting loud, angry people who couldn't survive 1 week without air conditioning dictate how we judge pioneers, warriors, and the visionaries that shape the world. All right, got to finish up. Here's the bottom line. You don't become wise by erasing your history. You become wise by learning from it. This weird trend of historical moral time travel is nothing more than narcissism dressed up as justice. It's cheap, lazy, and ungrateful. So the next time someone says, we shouldn't honor that person, they didn't live up to some modern standard, you look them dead in the eye and say, thank God they didn't. Because if they had, we'd still be waiting for freedom. That's the morning report. My name is Willie Lawson. And you don't need the past to be perfect. I just needed to be honest. Until we see you again. Bye-bye now.